Hey, Five Finance family, welcome to Flip It with Samara, the power of tax planning. So excited to have you here on this Tuesday evening, and super excited because we have another special guest that is going to be educating us on the topic of financial planning. As you know, we have had a theme every month, starting with the month of May, where our theme was wealth, and this month's theme is education. So I wanted to bring on an expert to help us do just that, right? But before I get into this, let me first introduce myself, right? I am Samara, CEO and founder of Five Finance. And our show, Flip It with Samara, was designed to create a safe space for you to learn, to ask questions, to share your experiences and your insight. So we want you to be engaged in that comment section. In fact, we encourage it, right? So ask your questions, leave your comments, share insight that you have on the topics of discussion for tonight. And our mantra, we don't want you to forget that, is the rich don't wait until they are wealthy to begin tax planning, but instead they use tax planning as a tool in order to grow their wealth. So, with that in mind, we want to remind you that no matter where you are on your financial journey, we meet you at that point. We meet you no matter where you are. So we encourage you to connect with us so that you can begin implementing some of these same strategies that we are going to be discussing week over week, right? So you can start tax planning today. That's what that means. Before the live is over tonight, we're going to share with you how to get in contact with us and, most importantly, how to get in contact with our guests, right? So, without further ado, I want to bring to the stage Tess ZIgo. Tess, welcome.
Hello, hello. Nice to be here.
So, Tess, I want you to please provide an introduction to of yourself to the Five Finance family.
All right. Well, glad to be here. My name is Tess ZIgo, and I'm a financial planner, a certified financial planner, and financial advisor, which is better known. And I made the transition to financial advisor after spending 9 years in corporate finance and managing millions for different corporations, and realizing that it's so much fun to work with people one on one and help them build wealth for themselves and their families for the long term. So I really work with individuals and families on a one on one basis to help them build wealth and figure out where they want to go in life.
Amazing. I think that's how me and you connected, right? Well, first of all, we were in a same Facebook group, so we connected that way.
Right?
But then when we had a meeting, we both kind of shared that same kind of exit strategy from corporate America, being that we just weren't loving it anymore. It wasn't fun. And we thought that we could get more fulfillment, which I know I have, and you share with me that
Mhm.
you have, just by helping the small guys, right? The underdogs, and specifically women, right? Female entrepreneurs for me. And we both connected with helping people in our community.
Mhm.
So I just thought that that was amazing that we both share that same drive.
Yeah.
That's definitely what gets me up every morning, knowing that I'm making a difference
Mhm.
in my community by helping other entrepreneurs that look like me. So,
Exactly. I think a lot of small businesses are born out of passion.
right, right.
Yes, and that's definitely true for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, we are going to definitely utilize that financial advisory role that you have today, Tess. And we first want to start by you just explaining to us financial planning. Like, what is financial planning? Because we hear that term a lot, but maybe
Mhm.
we don't understand what it entails.
Yes, yes. So it's interesting you bring that up because I think there is still this misconception out in the community that financial planning is for the wealthy. Because traditionally, financial advisors only focused on investment management, right? And investment management when you have a sizable nest egg already built up. But the reality is, financial planners today, and me included, we focus on helping the average person, so people like you and I who are small business owners or working in a corporate environment, optimize their money. So, really make the best with the money that they make and make the best decisions for themselves and their families, depending on what's most important to them in life. So, I know before we started the session today, you talked about financial independence, retire early, right? So, some people want to retire early, and we can create a plan to help them get there. Other people just want to put their kids through college. So, whatever those financial goals and life goals, really, because the two go hand in hand, financial planning helps you accomplish that using smart strategies that make sense for where you are in life today.
Yeah, and I love that you say that because I say the same thing over and over again. I echo
Mhm.
that same statement that tax planning should be seen through the same set of lens. It is not just for the wealthy, right? You can
Right.
start tax planning no matter where you are on your financial journey. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that me and you connect on that wavelength.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's all about accessibility. Like when you
Mhm.
think 20, 30 years ago, right, you had to go to an office and meet with a financial planner. And maybe those people weren't as accessible to the average Joe. But
Yeah.
now through technology, like you're
Mhm.
just a phone call or Zoom call away. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like the accessibility is, I think, what is changing the game.
Yes.
So
And I love that because, between you and I, when I entered the industry, I would network with a lot of other financial advisors and, a lot of the wirehouse advisors like the Merrill Lynch's of the world. It was always, you need 250,000 for me to work with you. And I thought, wow, you're cutting off such a big part of the population because guess what? Not everyone has the 250,000 to come and work with you.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So thank you for standing in the gap, right? And being someone who says, no, I want to help people that are just like me, people that I can relate to. I appreciate that. So, with that being said, now that we know what financial planning is, now we need to understand like, how do we start?
Totally. So listen, I think we have to remember that we're all on our own journey, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Because sometimes, people look at social media and they start comparing themselves to their coworkers or to, influencers and the like. And so it's really easy to get discouraged and think, oh my goodness, I should be way further than I am currently, and just kind of get overwhelmed and discouraged and not know where to start. But I think it's all about baby steps, and take a look at where you are today, right? Understand your budget. That's kind of the basic thing that we all need to understand: how much money is coming into our household and how much money is going out the door, and start putting in place things that make sense for your family, right? So if you're working for a corporation, look at the benefits that you have through work. So if you have a 401k, you might have a match through your employer, take advantage of that. Take a look at all the other benefits you have, such as HSAs, FSAs. Those are tax advantaged ways to save for the future.
That's right.
And then, just start learning more and more about your personal finances. And when you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to take that next step, talk to a financial planner. I promise we're not that scary.
Right. In fact, y'all, she's very approachable and easy to talk to. I love that you incorporate a little bit of tax planning into it too, because literally that's what it's all about. It's you can't look
Yes.
at one aspect of financial planning and not consider the tax planning aspect of it as well, because both of those strategies and plans are going to kind of work together, especially if you want
Mhm.
to optimize, like you said, your money.
Yes.
And so I loved you saying take advantage of what your employer already offers. I have
Mhm.
preached that so many times. I feel like
So
when people don't do it, they leave money on the table. Like,
yes,
and that's what I say all the time. Don't leave any money on the
absolutely.
table.
No.
Because, for instance, like a strategy that I used when my children were younger is I would get into a HSA because
Mhm.
one, I found that my employer would actually put a little cushion in there for me because I
Very
was
nice.
choosing, because I was choosing a
Yeah.
higher deductible health save plan. And so
Yeah.
they would put a little cushion in there for me. And then I would also do a FSA. So I would use that to
Mhm.
pay for childcare.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
right. And it's a tax strategy, right? So you're
Yes.
using now this money, this tax free
Mhm.
money to pay for your childcare.
Exactly.
Um,
Yes.
so definitely make sure y'all are not leaving money on the table. Listen to Tess.
Mhm.
Use
Mhm.
and leverage every single opportunity that your employer offers to you in the form of a
Yeah,
benefit. So Tess,
exactly.
before we go forward, we have a question. So I want to make sure that I address it. So this
Okay.
question is for both of us. So Samara Tess, how do you go about helping your clients who find themselves frustrated with their financial position to get back on track? So I'll let you answer that, Tess.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is, take a step back and literally give yourself some grace, right?
Right.
Because we know that building wealth and your finances are not going to be a straight line up. there's going to be, there's going to be ups and downs, right? We all experience that in life, and we're going to experience that with our finances. I mean, right now the market is down, and it's down significant, right?
Right.
We're all very frustrated. It's not fun for me, just like it's not fun for you or
Right.
anybody else. But you have to take a step back and think, okay, why am I so frustrated about my finances?
Right.
What went wrong? Did I make a mistake? Did life deal me a bad card? And then just assess the situation and give yourself some grace and then do better, right? Fix whatever is going wrong.
Right. And I love that you mentioned earlier about us sometimes losing focus because we see people on social media and they're
Yeah.
putting on this facade. I like to call it facade because you can't really believe
Mhm.
everything you see on the internet.
Right.
So they're putting on
No.
this facade that they have this amazing life and they've accomplished
Mhm.
all of this wealth, all of this greatness, and they're the
Right.
same age as you, and you start to feel inadequate. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes that can lend to your frustration. So
Absolutely.
my first piece of advice would be like, don't compare yourself to anybody.
Mhm.
Know that your journey is personal and it is
Mhm.
yours, right? You write your
Yes.
own journey and you can determine like the path that you're going to take to achieve
Mhm.
the end of goal that you're trying to achieve, right? So that
Yes.
would be my advice. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Most of it is
Yes.
probably fake anyway.
Mhm. Right, right,
Right.
exactly. The Jonases are broke. Don't compare yourself to them. Just because they look rich doesn't mean they actually are rich.
Right, right. Either broke and or in a lot of credit card debt, right? Because sometimes
Exactly.
it's expensive to keep up with that lifestyle,
It is.
especially if you don't have the income to back it up, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so we have another question. So Casey says yes, taking a step back. And then he asks, would you recommend looking at our objectives on an ongoing basis to take one step at a time?
So it's a definite yes, because I mean, let's be real. Our objectives are constantly changing. The only constant in life is change. So, I mean, my priorities when I was 25 years old are totally different than they are today. So, if we don't keep reevaluating things, then, your plan is outdated. So, you absolutely have to always, reassess, take it one step at a time, make corrections along the way as things change in your life, and just keep going, keep moving forward.
I agree. And getting my graduate degree with a focus on finance, like we learned about investing by
Hmm.
your age, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
like you said, things change. So maybe when you're younger, you're willing to take on a lot more risk
Hmm.
because you have more time to bounce back from a huge fall. But when you're older, you may not want to take on so much risk, right? So your portfolio, when we're talking about investing in
Hmm.
certain things, is going to look drastically different if you're in your 40s from someone who's in their 20s, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the same thing with the different tools that you're using, right? So there may be some tools that you use as you get a little older that maybe you didn't consider when you were younger, because you do want more of a safety net the older that you're getting. And you're going to start investing for your kids. So that leads me to my next question, right? Like when should we start financial planning, right? And especially for our kids. So not just for us, but also for our kids.
Hmm. So my answer to that is always the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is today.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because and I know the rule of 72 and the way compound interest works, right? And so what happens is the younger you start investing, the better off you are, because that money has more time to compound and do the heavy lifting for you.
That's right.
The later you get started, the more money out of your own pocket you have to save and invest in order to create, financial security and a sizable nest egg. Yes, so start yesterday.
Yeah, and that's a good rule of thumb. I say the same thing over and over again. You always want to make your money work harder for you. And the way to
Mhm.
do that is by starting early. And for
Exactly.
those of you who don't know what compounding interest is, this is like the quick and dirty, right? So the money
Hmm.
that you invest, it is going to earn interest, right? And then as you
Yes,
continue to invest, that money is earning interest on that interest. So it's
exactly.
just
So it's a
adding
snowball
up.
effect.
Right, right, right. So if you are familiar with Dave Ramsey's snowball
Mhm.
effect for debt, right, it's like the opposite in investment.
Right.
So,
Yes, in reverse.
right,
We want to
exactly.
avoid that.
Exactly, exactly. But she's exactly right. Like someone who is in their 20s beginning to start their retirement account may only have to invest, call it
Hmm.
$6,000 a year,
Hmm.
and achieve the same goal as somebody who is in their 30s. Maybe they have to invest now 15,000 because they got a late start in order to
Right.
achieve that same goal.
Exactly.
And so, and for most Americans, that is not an easy feat to put like away $15,000 a year.
No.
Most of us are living on a fixed income, whether we want to, whether we want to, share that or not,
Yeah.
but that's just the reality of it, right? And so
Mhm.
it behooves you to start young so that your money does work harder for you. I know with my kids, and I've
Mhm.
shared this with the Five Finance family before, I've already started their retirement accounts, right? They
Yeah.
may or may not know of all of them because I have more than one. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so it's definitely for me. I started when they were younger, but there
Hmm.
are other tools out there too, Tess, that I wanted to ask you about specifically. But I want to take this question before
Hmm.
we go on further.
Sure.
So Wayne has a question. He says, ladies, so for the people who have not started yet and are older in age, how do you start? Where do you start?
Hmm. Well, listen, so the most important thing is to get started. Yes, you might have missed a few years, but hey, better late than never, right?
Right.
So start where you are, assess your situation, figure out how much money you can start saving and investing, and do it in a tax efficient way, right? So whether you work for a corporation, do you have a 401k or other retirement account through work? Are you self-employed? Are you eligible for a Roth IRA or an IRA? Those are typically the first, things we look at, and start where you are.
Right. And that's some really, really good advice. Like, you can't set yourself up thinking that it's too late because then you'll
Mhm.
never start, right?
Exactly.
When you see stories about people going back to college in their 50s,
Mhm.
right? Like they knew that
Yeah.
they had a goal, they had a dream that they wanted to
Mhm.
achieve, and so they did it. So don't beat yourself up, Wayne, thinking, oh, it's too late for me now. I could never achieve the success that I want to achieve. No,
Mhm.
you can do it. It just means that you're going to have to take another strategy, maybe than what you had considered before, but it's definitely possible, right? Like we want you to be encouraged. And the only way to do that is just to connect with somebody like
Mhm.
Tess so that she
Yeah,
can walk you
absolutely.
through that plan, like what that's going to look like. Because it is going to be a lifestyle commitment. Like you're going to have to
Mhm.
make changes in your
Right.
lifestyle in order to get to where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
So
But I think
go
what you said is super important. Don't beat yourself up, right? You
Right.
just have to forgive yourself for past mistakes. Whatever is done, and just move forward from here.
Oh, absolutely. And that's how, I mean, we do that every day. Like, if you think about it, right? Every day you're going to make mistakes. To err is human.
Oh,
And
yes.
so you just have to learn from those mistakes. You get up, you lick your wounds, and you keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all learning experiences, no losses, only lessons. Lessons is what I like to say.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's all a learning experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But talking about investing for our kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know we want to set our kids up for successes that maybe were not afforded to us, right? Because our parents weren't having these type of conversations with it. Well, I know mine was not having conversations, and it's all because of accessibility and education, right? So you think
Mhm.
about when we were younger, right? Some 30
Right.
plus years ago. I won't date you, Tess, but I'll date myself.
Um,
So when we were younger, right, our parents weren't having these type of conversations at the dinner table. It
mhm,
wasn't just it wasn't the standard or the norm, right? And
mhm.
so because we know now, because we are educated in certain areas, because of either our educational background or maybe because of our technical background, our job experiences, we've learned more. We've gained a lot more knowledge, a lot more education. And so now we understand, you know what? I want to set my child up for success. And
Mhm.
so, in order for me to do that, I am going to have to use certain tools and strategies to ensure that they have the opportunity to be a part of that fire movement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can retire early. And so I want to talk about some of the tools that
Mhm.
we can use for our children. I have heard about like IULs,
Mhm.
and using those for kids. And those can be used through like life insurance plans.
Sure.
There are some accounts that you can use, like investment accounts, right, that you
Mhm.
can get for your kids as well. So when you talk to a client and they're talking about, hey, I want to save for my kids' college in addition to starting their retirement, like what tools do you suggest during that conversation?
Totally. So I will say it is dependent case by case.
Okay.
The first thing I usually talk about, though, is this analogy. But when you get on the plane and you fasten your seatbelt, and they give us the educational safety demo where they tell you that, in case of an emergency, you have to put on the oxygen mask on yourself first and then take care of the person next to you.
Right.
I think that absolutely holds true when it comes to finances as well. Meaning, I always encourage parents to first think about themselves and their own financial security. Because what I don't want to happen is for that person to then, take care of their kid, but then once they're at retirement age, not be able to financially support themselves and have to move in with their kids, right? As a mom, I definitely don't ever want to be a burden on my kids.
Right.
So I always say, be reasonable as far as what you can do for your kids and how much you can help them without hurting yourself in
Right.
the process. But if you are, of course, at a point where you can financially start putting money towards, your kids' retirement,
Right.
I love using the Roth IRA
Okay.
personally. I know there's definitely different investment account types that you can use. Yes, some people like life insurance. I personally like the Roth IRA because looking at marginal tax brackets years ago versus today and what they could be in the future with our deficit, there is a possibility that tax brackets in the future might be higher. So I feel like if your kid is young and they have earned income, because that is a requirement to utilize the Roth IRA,
Right.
putting money into a bucket which will be tax free down the road when they need it, I think is amazing. It's a great tool to utilize.
Right, right. And Tess, I know that she knew what she was doing when she was talking about this, has also shared with you a tax strategy, y'all. So, did you hear what she said? Your kid has to have an earned income. So, for all my entrepreneurs out there, guess what? You can hire your kids.
There you
All you
go.
all you have to do is make sure that the job that you hired them for is a job that they can do, right? So you're
Yeah.
not going to hire your 3-year-old to be your social media manager. However, right, your 3-year-old could definitely be one of maybe your models if you are doing a clothing line or something like that. So definitely utilize your kids and set up those accounts so that you can push that money into that account for them, right? Give them that start that you didn't have. And there are
Right.
plenty other tools out there too that are also tax advantageous. I, for one, use the 529 plan for college saving.
Yep. I
So
use
you
that as
can,
well.
right. So you can do these things in addition to, right? You don't just have to have one path. That's what I love about financial planning and tax planning. There are many roles that you could take to the end goal. And it's all about working with a professional who understands how those things need to be set up, so that you are, one, doing it the right way, and two, making sure that you're doing it the most advantageous way to you.
Exactly.
So I love that, Tess. Now I do have a question about the Roth IRA, and I'm
Mhm.
sure this may be something that the audience is I'm thinking too.
Mhm.
With the IRA contributions, there are limits, right? Year
Mhm.
over year. So with the Roth IRA that you're setting up for your children, are there limits that you can push to that account?
Totally. So the IRS sets the limits, and the inflation adjusted over the years. Currently, it's $6,000 a year, and I think, hey, that's a great start. If you're, if you've hired your child in your business, you're probably not paying them that much more than six
Right?
thousand a year. So, if you start investing that money at a young age, think when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, by the time they're 60, that money could compound and grow into a significant investment account.
Yep, yep. Okay, I just wanted you to say it. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, she is right. They do set those limits, and they do change. But
Hmm.
right now, that is the limit is 6,000. I think they allow 6,500 if you're at a certain age. So they do adjust them for that too.
Hmm.
But the great thing about a Roth IRA is that your money is growing tax free because you are using tax dollars in order to contribute to that account, which is lovely. And just going back to what you were saying earlier, Tess, about the tax brackets, I actually did a whole live and we talked about like how the tax brackets have changed, and I put it up on the
Yeah.
screen so people could see it in real time. Not too
Uh-huh.
long ago, we literally had like three tax brackets, and this was in my lifetime. In my lifetime, there were three tax brackets. It was like 10, I want to say it was 12, and it was like 15. It was like the highest was like 15 or 20.
Hmm.
And over the years, right now
Hmm.
we have what, seven, eight brackets, that you go down, and it
Right.
varies. And so, what Tess is saying is, we know how much a dollar is worth today, right? We don't know how much that dollar is going to be worth tomorrow. I think it's very evident when you look at what's happening to our market right now. Who would have thought that, just last year, no, year before last, when gas got down almost to like a dollar and some change, and we were all like,
Yeah.
what? What is happening? This is great. And now, fast forward a year, and now gas is like $5 and some change. Who would have
Right.
thought, right?
Unless you're in California, then it's almost $8, which is insane.
Insane. But to
Hmm.
your point, right, it's the same thing I preach. You know what your dollar is worth today, but you don't know what that dollar is going to be valued at tomorrow. So you have to develop strategies that are going to think about all of that, that's going to consider inflation, right?
Right.
Because it's a natural occurrence. It does
Hmm.
happen. It's usually about 3% every year. However,
Hmm. However, not
right
every
now,
year.
right now we're seeing inflation up towards to like 8.5% right now on average. So it's crazy. But again, that's why you plan, people. That's why you connect with professionals, to implement a strategy to help you work through these times, right?
Yes.
And so you briefly talked about the rule of
Mhm.
72 and compounding interest, but
Yeah.
if you don't mind walking us through that rule of 72, like what that means for the investor.
Hmm. Yeah. So I love the rule of 72 because it just simplifies how we think about money, and how it can compound over time. So what you do is you take 72 and you literally do divide by the rate of return on your money. So we'll do 7% So if you invest in the market, you should expect a rate of return over the long term of approximately 7% a year. Okay.
Right.
So when you do that division, 72 divided by 7, you get 10.2. So what that means is it takes 10 years for that money to be invested at 7% for it to double, right?
Mm,
So let's think about it like this. If you have 10,000 saved today, 10 years from now, if it's invested at 7%, that money becomes 20,000. And then 10 years after that point, it becomes 40,000. And then 10 years later, it doubles again to 80,000. And you see how it just keeps compounding and growing and
right.
doubling every 10 years, which is pretty cool if you ask me.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And this is why Tess says you should have started yesterday, right?
Mhm.
Because the rule of 72 is all about time. Time, right, is your friend.
Yes,
Because the more time that you have, the more money it can grow, right? The more time that your
exactly.
money has to grow. And the harder
Right.
your money can work for you, the earlier you start. So thank you
Yeah.
for walking us through that because like that term gets thrown around a lot and I think some people
Mhm.
just don't understand like okay, what is the rule of 72? I hear it all the time, but
Mhm.
like what benefit is it for me, right? How does it work for me? So,
Well, and I have to say, since you brought up the rule of 72, think about generational wealth and how powerful that is, because now all of a sudden you have that much more time from one generation to the next generation for that money to just keep compounding and growing.
that's right. And if you think about it, Tess, us setting our kids up, right, for the
Mhm.
successes that were not afforded to us, now that gives them a leverage so they have even
Absolutely.
more that they can use to
Yes.
set up their kids and so forth and so forth.
Yes.
And that's how you create that generational wealth, right? It's about
Exactly.
educating, having those
Educating
conversations.
is
Right.
huge. Yes.
Exactly. Having those conversations around finances with your kids.
Hmm.
I love to have candid conversations with my kid. Like yesterday, we were talking about interest in debt.
Hmm.
And this is what my 11-year-old, but I want her to understand what it is, right? I want her to
Yeah.
understand what debt is. I want her to
Hmm.
understand what interest is and how it can be a
Hmm.
good thing, but also how it
Hmm.
can be a bad thing.
Sure.
So you have to have these conversations with them, and you can talk to them on
Hmm.
their level, right? Like
Hmm.
you can make it
Yes.
relatable. I've shared books in the past
Hmm.
that have explained to kids like how money works, and you definitely should introduce it. I think early so that
Hmm.
kids have a good acumen when they go out into the world on how they need to be managing their money, right?
Correct.
You
Yes.
mentioned budget early, but last week we were saying how budget was a dirty word for certain people. So, so we,
Right.
right. So
Yeah.
we use terms like money management or a money
Sure.
manager, right? I had
Hmm.
Angelica in the audience earlier. I think she does like her yummy money tool is what she calls it. So,
Love
yeah,
it. Yeah.
definitely other words so that it's not as daunting. I guess some people just don't like that word budget because it feels like
Sure.
they have restrictions. But
Yeah. Yeah.
instead, I look at it as opportunities, right? And that's how
Mhm.
you have to look at it. What
Yeah.
does this, me managing my money, what
Mhm.
opportunities am I getting now, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. So I
Yeah.
think
I mean,
we have a, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think there's a certain negative connotation for some people. So hey, if it helps you to call it something different to
Right.
inspire you to do it, then
Do
hey,
it.
that's okay. Yeah.
Just as long as you do it, people. We don't care what
Exactly.
you call it, just as
Exactly.
long as you do
Yeah.
it.
Just do it.
So Samurai has a question. So he is asking, he says, so you mean I can put my kids to work legally, making a wage so that they can start their own retirement plan? Yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And like Tess said, understand what the limits are, right? That's why I also have like a 529 plan, right? So you can
Hmm.
contribute to that as well. And as long as you keep that under a certain dollar amount, you don't have to worry about this gift tax. Okay, it's
Hmm.
another tax planning strategy. So definitely understand that you can use various tools, Samurai, in order to contribute to your children's retirement or their legacy or their wealth for the future. But just start today, right? Don't wait, don't hesitate. Educate yourself, connect with a financial planner or someone in the financial arena so you can start today. So Samurai has a comment after that. He says, managing money can be scary, but if you get the right professional, they can make it where you become confident with your money. That is a true statement. I think me and Tess share that passion where we're about educating first so that you can become confident with your money and it doesn't become like this, burden, right? That, oh my gosh, I got to do my budget again. Like, we
Yeah.
don't want you to look at it as that. We want you to approach it with, ooh, let me see where I can save this month. We
Mhm.
want you to be excited about it. So definitely, yeah, be confident, and we encourage that. That's why we educate people, right? So
Yeah.
Tess, this has been
Yes.
amazing. I appreciate like all of your insight and you sharing with us your expertise, all the guidance that you have given us. So definitely share with the people how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to connect with me is through my website. It's truewealthy.com. And you can literally jump on my calendar right from my website and schedule 30 minutes. It's absolutely free and it's a chance to talk, answer your questions, and see if we might be a good fit to work together.
That's amazing. And I want y'all to understand, Five Finance Family, it is free. Okay? Absolutely free.
The magic word.
Right. That is the magic word. We don't want you to feel like there are any roadblocks, any limitations for you to start your financial planning today. So that's why she has this free consultation. She wants to meet you where you are. She wants to help you develop a strategy so you can start planning for your future today. So definitely make sure that you visit her website and connect with her. And I just want to say thank you so much, Tess, for donating your time. I know you have little ones, right? I'm so proud of them. They were so
I did.
quiet.
I know. Yeah. Dad's doing good.
Look at Dad. You know what?
Yeah,
I got to
Dad
say a
stepped
special
up.
thank you to Dad. And
That's
it's
right.
Father's Day coming up this weekend, so
Yes,
you got to say a special
correct.
thanks
Oh
to
my
him,
gosh.
Tess. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
So happy Father's Day to all the fathers watching, right? I
yes. We
forgot about
couldn't do
Father's
this
Day.
without you guys, right?
Right.
Really
Same.
appreciate y'all.
That's right. My production manager is my husband as
Hmm.
well. So
Yeah, yeah. My
definitely.
husband's tech support.
That's right. Definitely could not do this without them. So Tess, I'm going to ask you to wait backstage. I'm going to say goodbye to the family, and then we will say goodbye to you in a minute. So just wait backstage for me.
Okay.
Hey, Five Finance family. So, thank you so much for tuning in on tonight. Thank you so much for your questions and your comments. I'm sure that you have learned a lot in this short period of time from our special guest, Tess. We're so appreciative of her coming on and sharing all of her knowledge with us on tonight around financial planning. And please don't forget to connect with her. We will definitely also have all her information in the comments so that you can feel free to scroll through those comments and click on her links to connect with her at your earliest convenience. Because remember, Tess said you started yesterday, right? So keeping with the theme of education going forward, please note that next week is going to be me, and I am going to be talking about education as it pertains to tax planning, right? We talked about wisdom last month, and this month we're going to be talking about education. And where I view wisdom as you learning from your mistakes, I view education as learning from the mistakes of others. Because when people are deriving strategies and putting plans together, it's usually because there was a trial, right? Period, to understand what is going to work out best, right? So you want to adopt those best practices and you want to implement them into your life. So that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So if you are ready to be educated on how you can start tax planning, no matter where you are on your financial journey, definitely make sure that you tune in next week, Tuesday. You don't want to miss that, right? Not tomorrow. I think I said tomorrow. Next week, Tuesday. Gotcha. Again, happy Father's Day to all of the fathers that are watching. We could not do all of this without you. I know I couldn't do it without my husband, so I'm super, super appreciative of him And I'm going to make sure that he's taken care of this Father's Day, right? And before we go, we just want to make sure that you are connecting with us on our platform. So, our podcast will be streaming on Audible, Spotify, Amazon Music. Make sure that you are subscribing to our podcast so you can listen to it on your way to work or while you're at the office. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? So, if you want to continue to get this good content, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can set that reminder so that you are reminded every Tuesday evening before we go live. Hit the like button if you see a video that you like. And we encourage you to be engaged in the comments as always. And if you want to connect with me personally, please visit the website www.5finance.com. Go to our booking section and you can book a consultation with yours truly. So we have accounting consultations, tax consultations, and we even do some financial health consultations for my entrepreneurs. So make sure that you are taking advantage of those consultations. Again, free, right? Free is the magic word for tonight. So make sure that you are connecting with us and staying in contact with us, right? So again, Five Finance family, thank you for this wonderful and educational Tuesday evening. And we will see you next week. Until next time, bye.